Erica, you can see a full screen of the PowerPoint.
I can, yes.
Awesome. Well, like I said, welcome to Membership 101, kind of workshop and class here. We all kind of consider this, we do a spring version, we do a fall one. So you're the fall class of 2022. Welcome. Some great pictures there, and you'll see them throughout the presentation. Just really in this year, all the stuff that we've been working on. I hope you get a sense. We try to push on being a pretty small chamber. It's just really 3 staff, 4 staff, and we try and do big things. But you also, I think, see, and I know others on the call can attest to this, kind of just the partnership, the familiarity of it all. We've often said, kind of a chamber that goes together, grows together, and you can see kind of how all this kind of comes together. So we did some introductions, what everybody did on summer. We'll do a chamber overview, kind of the ways to get the most out of your membership, and then some Q&A. Pretty straightforward. So with that, and I can see everybody on my panel. I think all of you can. If we have another person pop in, we may go back to the full scale mode. But why don't we just have your name, your organization, how many years you've been in business or nonprofit, one thing you hope to get out of today. I'm just going to go through based on how I see everybody. So Veronica, why don't you go first?
Yeah, my name is Veronica Jorgensen, and I'm the club coordinator at Manchester Country Club. And I guess the club has been around for a little over 50 years. And we're growing and growing, thanks to everyone moving into the area, which is great. And one thing I hope to get out today, I want to use the site more to post some of our public events, and and maybe also reach out to some maybe the young professionals. Specifically, I guess we have a nice under 40 membership, so some of them may be interested in that.
That's great, and I'm just going to take notes while we do this. Let's connect afterwards, Veronica. I know we're always looking for A, spots to hold an SYP social, and B, spots in the Northshire. So
okay,
have to test, and let's
yay.
And we can't do that, and then I think at that, you're kind of promoting and pushing the under 40 membership. Great.
Great.
Chris Bates.
Wow. I have a whole bunch of things. I make hot sauce. I started that 7 years ago. It was kind of started as just like a little hobby, but it took off. It took off as a little hobby, and then I got into fishing back in about 8 years ago, and that took off started as a hobby, and it took off as a business. So, and then the one thing that's really interesting, and it was brought up to me the other day, is that I have done over 600 shows on Cat TV. So I'm still doing my TV show. I have 2 of them. I do Bennington Unwrapped, and I do Outdoor Secrets Unwrapped. And it's quite amazing for the last 10 years total that I've been doing stuff here. What I hope to get out of it is I love the networking, and I love the events you put on, because it always helps my companies to keep moving forward. And it's really hard to say no to them. So I'm all about the networking, and I think you guys do a wonderful job in helping businesses, small businesses, to keep growing that way.
Perfect. Great. Thank you very much, Chris.
Yeah.
I'll go with Chris Hayer, and we had Susan from Apricot Lane join us. So Susan, all we're doing is exactly what's on the screen. Introduce yourself, your organization, but we'll start with Chris first.
Hey, good morning, folks. Chris Heyer here with Heyer Inspections. Recently opened my doors in May after becoming a Vermont licensed home inspector in late April. So I'm fairly new to the area here, getting familiar with it. Love to get out of this, kind of get familiar with the chamber and do some networking and if there's anyone you know looking for a home inspection or a property inspection, please let them know that I'm local in the area here. I serve Central and Southern Vermont. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Chris. And we know a lot. And I was really excited to see your membership come through, not only because I like new members, but such a need in the area. And I know Erica has had some experience in the real estate world. Home inspections, man. People were booking out 2 years, paying stupid money to get people into their house to inspect it. So I think you're coming in right at the right moment. Wouldn't you agree, Erica?
Yeah, we have, well, it's slowed down a little bit now, but I mean, home inspections in Vermont are very crucial, especially for individuals coming from out of state who have never seen something like a stone cellar, which makes them very nervous. And we have to, have inspectors say, look, this house has been here 150 years for a reason. It's not all pretty, it's not all cement, but there's just nuances in Vermont homes that you don't find in cookie cutter neighborhoods. So having licensed home inspectors walking with a potential buyer through a home is just, it's critical, and welcome. I'm glad you're here. Because as Matt mentioned, I do have a little real estate hat that I wear sometimes too as well. So looking forward to working with you.
Great. Thanks, Erica.
Yes.
Susan.
I'm Susan Grossbeck. Jean and I own Apricot Lane Boutique in Manchester. We've actually been in business for 6 years in April. And Jean and I bought the store the July after the COVID shutdown. So I was the manager originally, and Jean was my assistant manager. And one of the things I want to get out of today is, quite honestly, I've been paying for the chamber membership since we opened, and I just want to make sure I'm maximizing the benefits that I have.
Perfect. Great. That's exactly why we built this program, just for you.
Thank you.
I mean, this really,
Thank you so much.
Most chambers do something like this, at least an orientation. As I said before we hopped, or right in the beginning, we hope to move more in person at some point. But yeah, just even the idea that I think the most almost befuddling thing and frustrating thing for our staff, Erica and me and Michaela, are people not showing up, taking advantage of it. That's why we do it all. So we're going to continue to do it whether people show up or not, and we only wish that more people took advantage, because it's there. So that's exactly what we plan to go through today.
And I appreciate, the resources that you have available. You already know how thankful I was when we were in the shutdown, and I was the only person rattling around in the store trying to keep social media going to make sure people knew we were open, and taking calls from people who said, oh my gosh, the stuff I ordered didn't come in, and I had a roller rack at the back door with the door propped open at 30 degrees, showing them things from their car, rigging them up and leaving them in a bag outside, so I really appreciate everything that you do and that you've done, because you are, I always get an answer, whatever it is I need, I always get an answer.
Yeah. Well, we're happy to, and we should highlight Apricot Lane. They're going to be doing our young professional mixer in November. And I know, Veronica, that's something you're looking into. So even you two could connect afterwards if you wanted to, and just say, hey, how'd that go? What else should I do, Veronica, over at the Manchester Country Club?
Yeah, sounds great.
All right, let's hop in, and I'm going to give you kind of from the ground up, quick down and dirty of what a Chamber of Commerce is, who we are. Erica's going to pipe in here from time to time as well. But let's talk about what is a Chamber of Commerce. And a lot of times people go, I have actually no idea. I know what Matt and Erica do and Michaela do. They help me out. I'll put a call in, they figure out the answer. That's what a Chamber of Commerce is. Absolutely. But I would say most people get confused of what an actual Chamber of Commerce is. So a Chamber of Commerce is a nonprofit organization So, we don't make money off of this. We are considered a 501c6. So if you're familiar with kind of those models, 501c3 is, nonprofits that you would normally donate to, animal shelter, homeless coalition, things like that. We're actually a 501c6, which means that we serve membership, that we are a membership-based nonprofit, which kind of puts some constraints on us. So we can't accept donations, but we can accept sponsorships. We can't give you a letter and you can't write us off in your tax. We aren't tax exempt when we go to the store. And there's a whole, it's a political thing way up beyond my pay grade to the US and why they've separated those kind of things and why that exists. But, basically we live to serve our members. I almost think of it of an upside down, or the way that I frame ours is we're kind of an upside down organization in the sense that at the top is the membership. The membership elects a board of directors every single year. Those board of directors elect officers that sit on my executive committee. And then those executive committee members and the board of director hire an executive director, myself, and I have, and a lot of chambers can't do this. We are fortunate. I have the opportunity through our budget to hire staff to support me. So just kind of think of that, right? So Eric and I are on the low part of that upside down totem pole, if you will. You guys serve, and that's why we're often, you'll probably see at least 2 surveys go out a year, if not more. Eric is constantly talking to you. The board is made up of members. You have to be a member on the board and be in good standing. And then kind of at that base is staff, partners, stakeholders, and if anybody's gone through any of our events and festivals, you'll know we rely heavily on volunteers as well. One thing that often comes up with chambers of commerce that I just think is important to reiterate, and part of this is to empower and keep you guys knowledgeable so that if you talk to somebody else out there in the business world of the nonprofit, you can kind of say, well, I was on a class, on Wednesday way too early in the morning, and I don't think it's that way. We don't receive taxes. Okay, so the money you see, the reason we're able to do what we do, and we'll get into this a little bit in the budget area, is based on fundraising and events, membership dues, and some grants and things like that. So we are not a town official. We don't get voted on other than the board with the membership. But, I'm not elected. I'm not an elected official. I'm not a politician. We have to be in the room with them. They are part of our stakeholders, but we don't receive taxes. And the caveat there for this chamber, and really only this chamber and 2 other chambers in Vermont, is that we do receive a grant from the state of Vermont to run the state welcome center on Highway 279. And that's more or less of a pass through. So they use us as a pretty much a bank or a conduit. We receive the grant. We then pay PJ and her staff up at the State Welcome Center. And we will talk a little bit about that because that is a huge asset for our members and all of you as well. You can take advantage of some things up at the Welcome Center. We were originally founded in 1912, incorporated in 1959. You can see kind of quickly there the mission and vision. I'll read those to you just because they're a little bit small, but we exist to promote, lead, and advocate a unified effort on behalf of all of you to maintain and improve a healthy business climate and a rewarding quality of life in the entire Shires of Vermont region. I think definitely the chamber has a heavy hand and a focus on business and economic development. Because oftentimes there aren't a lot of other people. Vermont is historically known and well known for having an environmental agenda. We know that with Act 250, and we know that just with the beautiful green mountains and our riverways, and people come to Vermont for the foliage. So we have a strong environmental hand, and we have a strong social justice hand. We know that with gay marriages. We know that with a lot of the progressive legislation that comes out of Vermont. Vermont doesn't traditionally have a huge economic hand. New York City, New York has a huge economic hand. Texas has a huge economic hand. They are powerhouses. Our job as a chamber is to just kind of balance that scale a little bit. Yes, we want to support the environment. Yes, we want to support social justice. We also need to talk about the future of Vermont when it comes to business and economic development and infrastructure and things like that. So That's that kind of like balancing of healthy business climate, and of course, the rewarding quality of life, which includes social justice and environment. The vision, and this, we kind of put 2023 down here, but really in general, until the board meets again and decides on a new vision, our vision is to grow businesses and enhance the Southwestern Vermont economy, influence and foster stable growth in our creative ecosystem. So that includes startup businesses, schools, kind of the maker spaces. So we kind of put that in as a kind of everybody included, the creative economy included in that, assist in building safe and healthy communities. So that's where we're always putting our efforts, toes, fingers into other pools, which might be, Alliance for Community Transformation support. It might be downtown support. It might be, opioid awareness. You'll find that this chamber often has partners and stakeholders, not just in business, all over the place, because we're a small region, in a small state. We all have to partner together. And finally, and we'll talk somewhat about this with the different legs of the chamber we have, but marketing. Vermont, is somewhat uniquely, especially in the chamber world, uniquely focused on travel and tourism, in the sense that it's a multi-billion-dollar industry for Vermont, and each region has to market themselves because Vermont, I do a presentation, Eric and I do a presentation to relocating families, and I go, name another state where you have Cabot cheese, Keurig Green Mountain, maple syrup, Bernie Sanders. I mean, for such a small state of 625,000 people, the Vermont brand is iconic. And so when people think of Vermont, they think of the Holiday Inn. They think of maybe Diane Keaton, or maybe now they think of Alec Baldwin. Either way, for some reason, Vermont has this weird vibe of attracting these kind of world famous brands. So that all being said, that's kind of the mission and vision. We were renamed. So originally we were the Bennington Area Chamber of Commerce from like 1959 to 2019. Some on the call will remember the Manchester Chamber. The Manchester Chamber went bankrupt in 2019, 18-19. And we, along with some other partners, came alongside Manchester, made sure we propped up the Manchester website, made sure we handed out the travel guide right alongside the Bennington area travel guide. Maybe some people don't know this, that how much this chamber came alongside with some other partners and just stabilized what we could. We opened up a small pop-up welcome center at the Berkshire Bank in Manchester, just to kind of, if anything, it was triage at that moment. Our board then said, hey, we're really, besides a small Dorset chamber, we're the only chamber left. There used to be an Arlington chamber. I think there used to be one more south of us, and then there used to be Manchester. We're the only ones left. What should we do with that? At that point, we had people like Susan and others reaching out saying like, hey, we still want to meet and mix and mingle. We want to network. We want to be supported. What do we do? And so our board kind of did multiple retreats and years of retreats and kind of fleshed out what a regional chamber would look like. And so with that, at the annual meeting in 2020 in January, we rebranded to Southwestern Vermont Chamber. So if you go into the IRS and look at our 990s and all that kind of stuff, it'll say Southwestern Vermont, but still, I always say to our Benningtonians, we still have that DNA in us for Bennington as well. I talked a little bit about kind of the structure of this specific chamber. We call this our enterprise model, because some people go, well, what's your affiliation with the young professionals? Why do we keep talking about the Welcome Center? The chamber, and there's a great diagram, simple diagram to say, our chamber sits up at top as the umbrella, the board, our staff, and helps facilitate these three organizations as well. The Welcome Center is directly under the chamber, but as I said, it's a kind of a grant that we receive and it passes through. You can, as a member of the chamber, you can have rack cards up there free of cost. You can do a poster for $400 a year up there We've gotten great success. We actually have a waiting line for that. There are display cases. So if you actually have product and things like that, you can work with PJ, and for weeks, if not a month, you can kind of own, it's free. So you're not renting, but you can kind of rent that space to showcase your product. There's also artwork too. So if you're an artist or know an artist, they do monthly swaps out of artists up there. It's a very, very neat, very beautiful. Vermont did a great job with their welcome centers. They don't feel like New York throughway. If you haven't had a chance, it's right up there past Willow Park on Highway 279. And if you are interested in taking advantage of those programs, we will bump into, I know in Erica's section around advertising, we'll talk a little bit more about that. But so that's that organization. We have what we call the Shires DMO. I won't get into the huge history of that, but at one point, Vermont set up a bunch of regional marketing organizations and distributed money through those organizations. That's where you got the Shires of Vermont. They did a big study, brought in consultants, and in like 2008, 2009, they branded the region the Shires of Vermont. If you go on Route 7A byway, that is now legally called the Shires of Vermont byway. But at a certain point, that group that started it kind of started to fade off. When the Manchester Chamber closed, it created, I don't want to say it was a vacuum, it was just unbalanced in the sense that I remember some of those meetings, Berta with the Manchester Chamber would sit on one end of the table and I would sit on the other. And then I love Berta, and we would work together, but it just balanced because two chambers were supporting that kind of the cultural and the kind of inclusive part of that DMO. It was a regional marketing organization, then it turned to a destination marketing organization, or a DMO. When Manchester Chamber went away, it kind of created this like imbalanced table. So eventually we took that on. So that's under the chamber now. It's still its own organization. It's a 501c3 now. If you've seen the rack cards and brochures all throughout the region, we'll talk a little bit about more of that in the marketing part, but we run the rack program. We run the social media account. So if you follow Shires of Vermont on Instagram or Facebook, we're doing that. And we continually bring together the MBA, the Manchester Business Association in terms of their destination marketing, as well as the BBC, or the Better Bennington Corporation, and try and, again, create that feeling of, hey, let's trade up tips, let's work with one another, let's celebrate the region, but also celebrate our unique brands as well. And then finally, SYP, or Shires Young Professionals. There were two young professional organizations, Bennington, Manchester. They were kind of in flux and they were failing. We brought them together. We gave them leadership and structure and financing. They have recently become their own organization. They were kind of a committee in the chamber. They have now become an organization under the chamber, a 501c6, because they are membership based too. And we can talk more about young professionals. I know Veronica, you were talking about hosting them, or I had mentioned hosting them. That's a great group that's under 40. You're trying to highlight your business, get them in there. You're trying to recruit new young people, work with the SYP. Great group of people.
Okay.
And then finally, just to put some context, here's our core team. We have a board of directors, fluctuates, but between 12 and 16 board, 5 officers. And we have some minor players on the kind of staff that I always think, man, our vendor who mows, our custodian that cleans the thing, they all impact the chamber. They all work for the chamber. But this is our core team, which includes Erica and myself. Michaela Lewis, if you've run into her, does a lot with event coordination. And again, up at the Welcome Center, we have PJ DeVito, who manages a staff of about 10 as well. So those 10 Welcome Center people are actually under the employment of the chamber as well. So Erica, why don't you talk a little bit about our membership? Oh, you're on mute. There you go.
Let me unmute that out. So currently we have over 380 dues paying members. There are some businesses that are on board as courtesy members who are longtime members who have been members for over 50 years. They have retired from their businesses, but they still stay involved with the chamber, so, which lends itself to, you can be an individual. So most of our membership is business-based. But as I mentioned, there are some people who have retired from business or just believe in the mission of the chamber and sign on as friends of the chamber. So they don't have the full benefits of a full paying member, but they are able to join us for our mixers and our coffee and conversations or any of our educational type workshops. And all of us are here to like collectively make a better business environment for each of us, because once one of us does well, you know, it just makes its way down the line. So collectively, we are here to promote business, promote community, and a better life for those of us who live and work here in Bennington. So if you go on to the next slide, excuse me, you can see that 56, over half of our membership is in the service industry, that being attorneys, architects, dentists, real estate, automotive. And then we have, you know, you can see the breakdown: lodging, food and dining, attractions, and shopping. Some of our major membership. We do have a few organizations such as faith-based churches that are members, and some of our nonprofits fall under attractions because they're things like the theaters or the museums, things like that. So we have a wide variety of members, which makes it that much more fun. On to the next slide. Again, here you can see that most of our businesses are the small business owners between 0 and 20 membership. Because of mathematics, you see the business 100 plus is in there, but if you drop down, you'll see businesses 5 to 9. So I think it's something like 72%, 76% of our businesses are small businesses. And it's important for them to be part of the chamber where, like Chris Bates had mentioned earlier, the networking. If you take the time to be involved with the chamber, it is reflected back to you and your business, because other members meet you. When they need your services, they'll think of you right away, but it also gets your name out to them. And it's just, again, that ripple effect. So I'm glad to see, especially Chris being a new member here on the call, so you can meet other people. But it's really great to see our members who have been here for a while, who also, you know, have taken part in a lot of things, but don't know everything that we do. So
I think, yeah, and Erica, let me mention, you know, my feelings have changed on this over the years, and I think you and I have kind of noticed and been paying attention to that small nonprofit 1 to 10. You know, that's 40. That's a lot. But when you look at the kind of the landscape of Vermont, our nonprofits really fill a need that in other places businesses would be doing it. And so, you know, I think our support for nonprofits, we've been working on some programming and events around them, you know, but it just makes up such a big, and I used to say, hey, we're a chamber of commerce, right? You know, we need to celebrate commerce. But that's kind of, you know, too narrow-minded. Our nonprofits, including, and I know they're not in this list, but, you know, the hospital is our largest employer, and they are a nonprofit. So, you know, small nonprofits as well, really playing a major role in both this chamber, but our communities and even our economic development.
all right, on to the next slide. This is very important, and all of you should have gotten links to our current survey that's out there. I think it closes on the 28th. We have shortened it from 24 questions to 13, I believe. But if you could take the time to answer your membership survey, that is how we get this information that we have in front of us today. And we're happy to say that 91% of our members indicate that they are either satisfied or extremely satisfied with the chamber in meeting their needs. And that can be something as simple as you call us. Susan, like she had mentioned, she has given us calls during COVID. Was just a crazy time. No one knew what was going on. And we didn't have all the answers, but we could make those connections to people who did have the answers. So Matt and I mean, we're good, but we're not that good. So if you have a problem, a concern, an issue that you're just like, hey, I need some help with this, pick up the phone, call us or email us. And again, if we don't have the answer, we work really hard to find the person who might have the answer for you. Again, looking at the survey, 0% indicated that less than acceptable or disappointed in terms of how the chamber responded to problems. That's huge. Like I just said, we don't always have the answers, but we try. And 93% of the chamber or members indicate that chamber communicates with them, is the communication is extremely good or acceptable. And I know you guys get a ton of emails from me, but please don't ever choose to unsubscribe, because that is our main form of communication. So if you don't know what's going on, and I've had members who, said, I didn't even know that was happening. I would have loved to have gone, but you unsubscribed. So unfortunately, I don't have the time to go through that list and hit anyone that's unsubscribed. So between the emails, the Friday e-blast that comes out every Friday, tons of information on not only what the chamber is doing, but importantly, what our members are doing. So take a look at that, run through it. And yeah, I think that those are our major forms of communication.
Yeah, and go like the Facebook page. I know we update that regularly too. And I should say, Erica, with this chamber membership, this was more than a quarter of the membership filling out the survey, which is actually really good. I mean, over 140 or 150 people, business owners filling that out, which what business owner has time to fill out surveys? So thank you everybody that does fill out the survey. But good confident data here that says it's not 10 people, 10 of Matt and Erica's biggest fans filling out the survey. Kind of everybody across the board. So check your email. You should have a link. If you don't, Erica and I can help you. That will close in the next week, but that helps us. That brings a lot of information back to the board. It helps point Erica in the right direction for 2023 as well. How does a chamber run? So, you're all privy to this because you're members, but this is kind of the basic breakdown. Our membership, we have the Welcome Center. And so you kind of see that over on the left-hand side, almost $200,000. Like I said, that's pretty much a pass through. So even if we subtracted that and put it as a standalone, membership makes up about a third of our finances. Garlic Town or any garlic event makes about a third of our existence, which is always nerve-wracking for us, but it's why it's such a big event and why it gets so much attention from this chamber. It makes up a third, and then you can kind of see where the rest of it falls in. Erica's work with the travel guide, sponsorship, commissions. We do the dental and vision. So we do get a little bit of it doesn't come out of your premium, it comes out of the company's premium for kind of facilitating you all there. And then miscellaneous, which ends up being grants and other advertising opportunities. So that kind of brings us to the full revenue. And then just like any other business, employment cost, professional services, operational cost, rent, lights, heat, we have to pay for all of that. We don't get tax discounts or anything like that. And you can kind of see where that kind of comes to zero. This is the proposed 2022 budget. So we're getting to the end of that. In January, we will come to the membership again at our annual meeting and propose a 2023 budget. It'll look pretty similar to what you see right there. And you can also see from a chamber revenue standpoint, Events take up a big spot for us, which is great for multiple reasons too. Gets us money, lowers your dues. I mean, if you were to look at other chambers and other business organizations, their dues are probably $100 to $200 more than yours. I think events help kind of offset that, but events also help with travel and tourism, as Chris Bates was talking. The summer homebrew fest, the winter homebrew fest, garlic. It brings also people to the area, so it has this kind of double, triple-edged sword of helping. And then you can kind of see where the rest fall out. But even membership, and I know Erica's crushing her goal this year of renewals. It's probably the best renewal year I've ever seen in my 7 years, and I can go back into records. And definitely the 5 years before I was here, it's better than those two. So she's doing a great job with membership renewals. We kind of take that and we'll break it apart for you in this next section. We even have mugs that say this, just to remind our staff, and on the back end, when they're drinking their coffee, they can look at it and say partner, advocate, connector, and catalyst. We are a partner for you. As Susan and Chris have talked about, we advocate. We'll talk a little bit about what that looks like. I've said probably more the last 2 years since COVID, connecting. We cannot solve all your problems. We can't even create the solutions, and some of that might be like big events or solve the housing crisis, Matt and Erica. Oh, okay, well, we can't, but what we can do is connect those people. And I often frame it up as everybody's working in their vertical. So that can be your vertical business, right? So you got sales, marketing, customers, whatever that happens to be. It can also be your vertical industry. So it might be golf courses or recreation or attractions. It could be insurances, professional services. It could be, those verticals as industry. Who and what is out there that's actually connecting all those industries together? And I would say your chamber is, or should be. And any other organization, your downtown programs, they should be taking those verticals who, if you had your own way, you'd just say, look, I just got to focus on my business or my nonprofit, stay in my lane, and just work on hitting my sales numbers. Yeah, but that's not where the magic is made. The magic is made in the vertical, in the horizontal, which is about gathering you all together and solving the housing crisis, solving COVID, bringing more people to the region. So that's the connector part. And then catalyst, whether that be the downtown Bennington redevelopment efforts, we take a key leadership position at a lot of those discussions. And so I believe in catalytic leadership, that if we demonstrate leadership and positivity and optimism about the area, that will trickle down to our members, that'll trickle down to our volunteers, and that will kind of permeate through the community. So let's take a look at events real quickly. Events, we do this. Why do we do this? To subsidize membership dues, really to invest in the chamber efforts and to create really a dynamic community as well. We have done winter. We originally had garlic when I first got here. We had just put away the car show. The car show started losing money, and they decided to close that down and pivot their attention to Garlic Town or Garlic Fest. Garlic Fest came from Wilmington. We purchased it as a chamber in 2008 because their owners wanted us to. They ran out of room in Wilmington. They said, can we bring it to Bennington? Can you run it? We were closing down the car show at that point. We took over the Garlic Fest, and over the course of the last years up to the pandemic, we grew Garlic Fest by 262%. And that's what kind of makes up that. That's why it's a third of our budget. When I got onto the scene, we were close to that number in 2016, but we also knew as a board that we strongly needed to diversify our portfolio. So we have worked hard to come up with golf tournaments, and Veronica knows that when we were up at the Manchester Country Club. We've worked with other producers to develop homebrew festivals, both the winter and summer homebrew. And part of the beauty of those types of things, golf was about getting the South Shire and North Shire together to kind of mend wounds and grow a stronger region. The homebrew ones were to encourage all these home brewers. We know we're the brewing capital of America in Vermont. And so, yes, we've got craft brews, we've got micro brews. We wanted to say, hey, is there a way the chamber can have a fun event, maybe make some money, but also bring those garage and basement brewers out of their garage and basement, showcase them, and maybe if we launched one or two, they would open up a brewery, and that would again kind of have compounding interest on the downtown, and making this a destination to stop. We have launched through that program about 5 or 6 breweries at this point. Not all of them in the region. Some have gone to New York, some have gone to Mass, but I believe there are at least 2 to 3, and there's a head brewer at one of our largest breweries in the region who was the champion of the homebrew. So I would say even 3 to 4 breweries that have opened or have found talent to help them continue their brewing through those programs. We don't have on here because it kind of morphs into multiple things, but we also did our inaugural Women in Leadership Luncheon last year. 80 women came to lunch, 4 were recognized, huge success. It was kind of, Eric and I were, it was those incubator events where you go, oh, let's try this, and it was sold out. We're gonna have to find a bigger venue or find more space. It's a very, very popular event. We're gonna take some of that model, I think, moving forward, which is kind of a specialty event. It may not be Garlic Fest, but it isn't, just kind of a lunch and learn. It's something right in the middle of that. Any questions on events? And this, again, kind of casual here. Some of you are familiar with some of our events. Some of you want to know why we don't do certain other events. But if you have any questions, now is your time.
I don't really have a question, but we do a lot of giving to like the BBA Gala, SMS Winter Ball, all of those kind of things. And we usually do a $200 shopping spree because it's perfect for somebody who's in high school or going to college. But one of the things I wrote down is considering how big the nonprofits are. I mean, and we do like the cabin fever event for the cancer research. We do a lot of that kind of thing. If that's that big of a membership, then that seems to me like something that could be really beneficial to collaborate with, to be able to, and we've never really put anything out on social media. We don't really do a whole lot to say, hey, look at what we do, but it is something, because we're locally owned, we want to contribute. I guess my question would be, if you can put me on a list that I'm interested in contributing.
Yeah.
Or connecting with people. I can't do everything, but whatever I can do, I want to be able to do. Like we do internships with kids that are in special programs, through higher ability, things like that, just to get them out in the workforce to see, what their skills are and what they're going to be able to do going forward. In fact, we hired a gal through that. So, it's kind of broad as far as what our interest is and what our ability is, but that would be kind of cool.
Yeah, 2 things to that, Susan. Kind of what I consider kind of a preferred vendor list or a preferred member list, and we could get that to nonprofits. I'll even go a step further, and we were close to launching this, and it just didn't work out this year. We were going to take the model of the Women in Leadership Luncheon and work on a luncheon for our nonprofits too. And that would again be an opportunity where you don't have to be a nonprofit to go to that luncheon. You could be a for-profit and you can meet a bunch of other nonprofits. They're looking for board members, they're looking for volunteers, they're looking for gifts at times. But we also said, that's one of our ways we wanted to come alongside that. I wouldn't say they're the forgotten group, but often, no one's celebrating the kind of interconnectedness that our nonprofits do for our region. So we were going to work on that. I would suspect that next year, maybe around November, we'll have some type of gathering for nonprofits as well. But I'll go offline with Erica too, and I think a preferred kind of members want to give back list would be interesting.
The other thing is, when you do the Women in Business event, do you do any kind of a swag bag or anything for the people who attend?
Yeah, we did do a swag bag that was actually our presenting sponsor had given. So that was the Berkshire Bank. They were presenting sponsor, and they had given us bags with some things in it to give to our
Did we
attendees.
have other things in there? Like, I know we had sponsors too. We had support. So kind of the model is we have a large sponsor like Berkshire Bank, and then we had supporting sponsors. And I think we might have put in tokens of their.
Yeah, for our sponsors were given the opportunity to put things into the bag if they had it as well.
Okay.
But we could, and again, that was our first event. We're
Oh,
shooting
sure.
from the hip. So any, we will be dialing that in, and happy to know that when we do that, we can count on you, Susan.
Okay, that would be
Yeah.
great. Thanks.
And being quite honest, when we're talking sponsorship, especially around events and stuff, we push hard on that because it subsidizes the membership, and we want to make money off the event. And keep, businesses have some businesses out there are very profitable. We want them to pay for it. What I love about the Women in Leadership Lunch, in the same direction we probably head with the nonprofit, is we get one big sponsor, and then we make sponsorship for our small businesses very affordable. So I think it was like $250 to be a sponsor. So if you're familiar with our sponsorship model, usually it's like 500 at least, or 1,000 or 2,000. We decided with that event, even with some of Garlic Town this year, and just kind of listening to our members, kind of the Bernie Sanders model, more smaller sponsors so that more of our actual membership can participate in promoting themselves, is the theory.
Right, because it's hard for me to come up for $500 with $500
No, yeah,
for a one-day event, but I can easily come up with $20 fashion cash.
Yeah.
That has a 60 or 90-day window to return, that they don't have to spend a certain amount to use it or anything like that. That I can do because I'm also splitting the profit, the margin drop across a longer period of time too.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
Other questions on events? Sometimes we get a question around Manchester, why there are no big Manchester events. Couple thoughts there. We did the Women in Leadership Luncheon in Dorset purposefully. We'd probably look at a midway for if we did another luncheon of that style. Oftentimes we run into Manchester is so gangbusters, as Veronica was saying, between May and January. Really, you have kind of January through March and April, but a lot of our properties and attractions and restaurants want to take a break at some point. So they claim January or February. So really, we're talking about this kind of window of March and maybe April. And just kind of they don't, and if John Burnham were on this call, he was on this call, and I don't think he's back on this call. We've talked about it. We often try and do a golf tournament up there. We did the last one up at the Equinox. So we do try and encourage networking and connecting and facilitation. But in terms of a large garlic fest, I think we're often cautious around the capacity that Manchester can handle, that they want to handle. They're doing all right. If anything, it's more about trying to find you guys housing for your employees, trying to get more employees to you and to stick around. So I think that's where we're looking at Manchester and the North Shire and going, okay, what is their need? Their need is not event. The reason there are events in Bennington is because Bennington doesn't have the travel tourism clout as Manchester does. It has travel and tourism, absolutely. Bennington Museum, Monument, the Brook, that's great stuff. But when you look at how large Manchester gets during its travel season, it's just huge. It's an epicenter. So that's why we put more events down here, but we try and do more networking and connecting up in Manchester. So that, if that was a question or it does come up, that's kind of the current theory, although we're always willing to throw out theories and try new theories too. Erica?
If you would like to be able to give somebody an example, as far as a retail store, we do 35% of our business in the first half of the year and 65% in the second half.
Yeah.
Like, that's, if you ever want to be able to say to somebody, like, and it's been consistent for me, even when I ran Coldwater Creek for 11 years.
Yeah. And do you feel, and I'm looking at you, Veronica and Susan at least, I kind of get a sense, they do want to break at some point. It's a little bit, we used to do restaurant week, and by the time we got to November to do restaurant week, they said, no, we don't want to. We want to go on vacation. Because we were trying to push the October push all the way through maybe the first week of November at times. And I remember many of our restaurants being like, but no, we're good. We made all our money in October. Thank you. And want to go on vacation. Do you guys get a sense of that? Do you feel that from time to time? Like, obviously you would love to make more of your percentage on low peak months, but
Right.
are you okay with this peak, the slow part?
For me, November, first week in November is very common for me to take a vacation.
Yeah.
And then, I would rather do some things that can drive some business for the cabin fever people, and like March and April would definitely be the better time for me.
Yeah. Okay. Erica, education.
So the chamber tries to pull together different educational opportunities for our membership. And that's why you'll see some at 8 o'clock in the morning. We do some at noon, which would be like our lunch and learns. And then evenings, we do our networking nights, our mixers, which is just come together, chat. It's not an, there's no pressure. Like the networking night is just that. Just come and relax, have a drink, have a non-alcoholic drink, and meet other members in a out of work atmosphere. Our educational seminars going into next year, we are going to try to switch some things around. And a lot of that, again, will be based on members answering that survey, because it doesn't do us any good to put out things that are of use to our membership. Last year, we did a couple of different lunch and learns around small business taxes and what your implications are if you're an LLC versus an S Corp or whatever, above my thinking. But also next month, we'll be doing a lunch and learn on upcoming changes to healthcare. And that will be with Heidi from the Richards Group, and she will go over the different healthcare providers insurances that you can get, what the cost was going to be, what they cover. And as business owners, that is, if you are able to give insurance to your employees, this is a great lunch and learn to attend and ask Heidi questions about any changes. The chamber used to be able to offer healthcare insurance to our members, but legislatively they changed that. So we cannot come in as group members anymore, but we still like to keep you updated on all the changes and what your options are. We do, however, offer dental and vision. So we're excited to be able to do that for you still. Member roundtables are one of my favorites. So we do this by industry sectors. So people coming in for retail can come together in this roundtable casual Zoom meeting, but we're gonna, again, try to do it in person as we move forward. But the amount of ideas and the connections and collaborations that come out of these member to member roundtables, Matt and I generally just sit back and let the members make those connections. And often partnerships are formed that when they walk away from those. So if you have an opportunity to join us for a member roundtable, I encourage you to please join us. I'm all about connections and partnerships. That is as the kids say, that's my jam. SYP Socials, that's the Shire's Young Professional Group. I myself am not a member, so Matt, maybe you can speak a little bit about the Shire's Young Professional Socials that you have.
Well, and again, in the framework of education, oftentimes we're trying to go to new businesses to highlight. Again, like I said before, nice to get 30 to 50 under 40, which, believe it or not, the biggest comment I love coming from the SYP group is I didn't know that this many young people lived in Bennington, Manchester, Dorset, wherever we are. And again, it's that horizontal function. They would never get together collectively until something like a young professional group says, hey, we're all meeting at Apricot Lane on Thursday, and meet us there. And all of a sudden you're going to see, 20, 30, 40 YPs go. So, so those are equally important, but I think they're also educational as well. So that's the YP group.
Yeah, any questions on any of these seminars or lunch and learns? I think we're good.
Good.
What do we have next? Development.
That's you.
Okay.
You're still on.
I'm still on. Okay, so the relocation program, we're actually doing one next week up in Manchester. This is our stay-to-stay program that we have been doing now, I think for 3 years.
4 or
is
5
it 4?
now. Yeah.
Yeah, so it started, I'm sure everybody saw the news back, CBS, when state of Vermont was just giving $10,000 away to anybody who moved, and we got coverage looking to get young people to move into the area. It wasn't quite like, here's 10,000, come to Vermont, but people who did make that commitment and go through the program were able to get moving expense money. Maybe they had to put first and last month's rent down on a house to move. And it was to encourage young people and people who back then, Lord knows, we didn't know that working remotely was going to be a common thing. That at the time when the program developed, it was new, people working remotely, and Vermont wanted to take advantage of those remote younger workers and bring them in. So next week's stay-to-stay program happening has families that are interested in relocating to Vermont. They just haven't made that commitment. So what this program does is introduce them to stakeholders in the community, businesses, possible employers when they come. And it's they come in at their own expense, but we meet them on Friday morning with some coffee. We hook them up with Hireability Vermont or Wendy at the Department of Labor so that they can talk about employment opportunities. Some of them already know what they want to do and have given us resumes, and we've made direct connections with possible employers for them. So Friday is just welcoming them in. We have a little lunch. They meet with different, who is on the agenda for meeting? It's going to be the Department of Labor again.
Hireability.
There's childcare.
Usually, yeah, there's like a family in the Shire. So this all happens on a Friday. Then they have Saturday and Sunday to explore the area. This next one, next weekend, will be in Manchester. So we're going to be connecting at the Manchester Library for part of the day, going to the newly owned Mystic Bar for lunch. And then they meet back up, and everybody's invited to the Mixer next Friday, which will be at Social House as well. And then they have the weekend really to meet with a realtor, get a second conversation with the principal. Just a way for us to connect the dots on some of those major decisions you have to make before you move.
We also, we did mention that we do have benefits packages for our members, and I encourage you to go to our website because all this information, I know it's a lot to take in while Matt and I are sitting here talking to you. Thank you, Matt. But you can sign up for group dental and group vision. We also introduced last year, there you go, a MEAP program, which is multi-employer, I forget, aggregate program, but it's a chance for small businesses to be part of a 401k, and you don't need that huge amount of money up front to participate. Adam Walsh is the person who is with Lincoln Financial who administers that for us. And if you are a company that currently has a 401k, Adam is happy to do a comparison and find out, hey, you're already in the best plan, or look, we can multiple employer aggregation program that they could save you money, and it's free. He does it free. And what's really great is they do all of the administrative work for you, because when you run a 401k package, there are thresholds that you have to meet in filing and making sure that this is done on time, and whatever. That can be taken away from your administrative staff, and Lincoln Financial would do all that for you. So again, I would take a minute and call Adam. His contact information is on the bottom, and set up a meeting and say, hey, will this be benefit to me and my employees? And with the dental and vision, smaller employers, not small time, smaller employers are always looking for a way to attract employees, and any benefit that you can offer is of help. And you can either choose to make it a pass through, or you pay a portion of it, or you pay all of it. But it's a great little benefit, and the entire company does not have to participate. If one or two of your employees want to, or if you by yourself want to, you can sign up that way. And that is done through VACE. They are the administrators of the plan. So on that Facebook page under membership benefits packages, you can see the forms, you can download them, you can fill them out, have questions. There's phone number to call VACE, and they'll be very happy to help you with any of that. The COVID relief funding and support back in the day was very instrumental in many of our small businesses being able to weather that. And we were fortunate enough to work with members at the bank, the Small Business Administration, who were able to help our members through that process and get the funding that they were entitled to, and were able to keep their doors open during that. And that was something that I hope we never have to go through again in my lifetime.
Let me add to this, and here's a little bit of inside baseball for people. COVID relief funding, COVID relief, and whatever we could do. I remember, Eric and me working with Hogback up there with the distiller there for PPE packages. We put those together. We would sit with businesses and work on grants. We'd get marketing grants to support initiatives to get people back to Vermont. We did a lot that year, and I think Susan, you had mentioned some work, and that was organic. And I often go to the state and I challenge them to think, what was the plan if you didn't have chambers of commerce or downtown programs or MBAs? We don't get taxes, we don't get support, other than some grants that we fill out and have to, beg the state for. But to me, it was one of those things where I go, gosh, thank and bless your chambers, your MBAs, your BBCs, because they went door to door. And, so I think Vermont did a really good job capturing a lot of the federal funding, and we can thank Senator Leahy and Sanders for that. That brought a massive amount of funding into Vermont, and continues to do that in the second part of that relief funding. Then that trickled down to the state, and then the state kind of just went, well, there you go, you have it, businesses go figure it out. And I think a lot of, when we talk about frontline workers, we talk about the grocery store workers, we talk about the hospital and the nurses and the doctors. On the other end, the economic frontline people were your downtown programs and your chambers. And there wasn't a whole lot of organization of that. It wasn't like, hey, let's get all the chambers together and talk about how we're going to distribute these funds or where we need support. It was kind of haphazard. So that's why Erica says she never wants to go back to that world. But at the same time, I do think that was a huge opportunity for this chamber and other chambers throughout the state, and downtown programs and other, regional development corporations that stepped up. And so when you look for reasons of why you have a chamber, that's why. Though that's a really good reason why.
We also work with staff and leadership development, part of that being the SYP. We try to bring in some experts in areas of this, and we'll do more of it next year as we try to figure out programs that will help our members. I'm sorry I don't have more information right now because we are, like, a lot of our program is dependent on what we hear from you, because it's not what Matt and Erica want. We may think that, oh, this would be really great, but then our members come back and say, you know what? I really would like a workshop on, like we talk about, ambassadorship for my front end people. The people that work the register are the first impression of businesses. Is my staff prepared to deal with the public in a professional manner? We all know that service industry people have been just taking the brunt of people's frustration over the past year, and people, for whatever reason, feel it's okay to be miserable to the people who are out there working. And the staff and the business owners are overworked. They, being short-staffed, just, they don't have maybe the tools that they need to address this or find different ways to address. So we're working on doing something in that area.
Eric and I were just talking, thinking about bringing in a professional for like hospitality training, and then you'd be able to send frontline staff to that training. And that's kind of where the business development, leadership development, that kind of stuff comes in. So again, if you have ideas, you say, the other one that comes up is, and we were just talking about this the other night, Susan, how do I handle alcohol? Like, am I allowed to give it away for free? Do I bring in a caterer? Who are the caterers? We're working on a workshop around that as well, because believe it or not, it's a lot of questions around how do you handle alcohol in your business. Yeah.
I just want to mention, always, Matt and I are available for one-on-ones. If you want to call us, schedule some time. Matt actually has a calendar on the website that you can see what times he's available. Plug yourself in and say, hey, Matt, I would like to sit down and talk with you. Or Erica, can we connect? Please reach out, because we're always available. We're here because of you, and we're here for you.
Great. Any questions around development? I often think of us as the micro arm to a macroeconomic development effort. So if you look at our regional planning commission, you look at industrial corporations, we're absolutely at the table having communications. I get all the time, well, Matt, what do you think the business community wants? Could you survey your members to find out X? And then I think, like Erica said, it's the little nuanced things, the hospitality training. And no one's offering that. No one's thinking about that. They're thinking like, more businesses in Manchester, yay. Like, how do we get them more there? Okay, cool, great. And then they better give that Vermont charm when people walk through the door. So I think I always think of the chamber being kind of the micro, working day in, day out, one business at a time to just move it up a little bit, move up a notch or two. Promotion. This is the one that, I think you're probably all on the call for, figure out what you can take advantage of. I'm going to pop over to the website. We will have slides we can hand to you. I'm going to use the slides here. We'll talk quickly, but effectively around the travel, rack card, welcome center, website, additional advertising. I just think the website does a really good job at that. So let's head over there. And again, this can be found at either swvtchamber.com, or if that was a mouthful, you can simply type in bennington.com and it'll go there as well. So when we look, just generally at the website, if you're not familiar with it, the homepage will give you the sliders that are most current at the moment, what we're pushing. You can become a member for 2 free months, and we'll start you again in January. Some great videos. That's that connect with me. If you want to make it big, bold, they're going to be able to connect. The upcoming events and programs, you're in the membership class. As Erica said, we have the benefits package, and we are working on the holiday mixer at the Bank of Bennington, some recent stories. This is some of our educational component. That's Adam there on the Chamber Retirement Program. We'll do, I think we're going to do another legislative prep session later this fall to get ready for the next session. And there's that first membership workshop we did. And then you can kind of go through all those, and it's an overview of more of the website. But for the purpose of advertising. Head over to your membership. You can even answer some questions around advocacy, small benefit package, small businesses, networking mixers. But I would go down to advertising. And the way that we've really framed this up, Erica and me, what's free, what's not. So first, and I think it's why most of you are on this call, it's like take advantage of what's free first, or, you know, and then move to, and it's pay to play. So the more you pay, the more you're going to get out there. That's kind of the name of the game. But you get a listing on the website free automatically, you know, and Eric can actually pull up your numbers to let you know how many people are clicking on your link to go to your website. Listing in our annual travel guide, that is free. So if you pick up I think it's the blue cover this year,
It is.
you're listed in your industry. So somebody moving here, somebody visiting here goes, I need, you know, I'm opening up a restaurant, or I'm opening up a this, and I want, you know, fire suppression, or I want, you know, I'm looking for a house, and we have stay to stay next week. And so, you know, that'd be great for Chris, you know, you to be around and say, hey, I inspect homes. Let me inspect your home while you go away and then come back. Community calendar posting. So you can go right to advertising and it'll get you to this, or you can go right to our website /calendar. This page is visited over 1,000 times a month. It's pretty self-explanatory. It is current, it is dynamic. It tells you for the events of the week of October 19th, here's what's coming up. As long as you remember, you can easily click submit an event. It's very kind of Facebook intuitive. Name, contact, notes, event title, upload an image. Give us a job, give us a description, give us the location. Hit submit at the end. It bounces to Michaela and Matt, and we review them weekly, if not daily, and we hit yes, usually to anybody that's a member. From time to time, we have some modifications, but rarely, and we're really just here to get you guys going. This calendar then goes on to our Friday e-blast, which goes over to over 1,000 people with our membership representatives and stakeholders. And at the bottom of those newsletters are kind of the top 10 events that are coming up this week. And we try and break those apart based on location and organization. So we try, you know, we don't focus everything on the Southern Vermont Arts Center. Like they get 1 or 2 postings, but then, you know, Manchester Library gets a posting, and then the Bennington Museum gets a posting. So we try and do, and, you know, my recommendations of this: catchy title, very dynamic image, and pick a specific date. So sometimes we have people that have like, from October to February, we have a play, or we're going to have a season of the theater. And you got to go, well, you're going to be more powerful if you break apart your plays, post them individually, even though it takes a little bit more time, because, you know, people, travelers and local residents are looking at this going, what's this weekend? What am I doing this weekend? Quick, great. So those are just some quick recommendations, but a great tool to take advantage of. So again, that's just under advertising. If you want to go there, those then get populated into the weekly e-blast, as we say here. If you want more information on the state highway, as I had talked about, displays, you can do a display case up at the State Welcome Center. Here is PJ's email right here. You can click it and it'll bump up, you know, bump you into your email, and you can shoot a quick email to PJ. We also offer bulk mailing. So if you're doing a postcard out about your new golf season or whatever, Erica can work with you in the post office to get you a discounted rate on anything over 250 mailers, right, Erica? I think. You're on mute.
Yeah, so anything over 200 pieces, you can get the bulk rate using our permit.
Yeah.
So I can walk you through that.
Rack cards up at the Welcome Center. Again, you talked to PJ about that, and then art on the wall of the Welcome Center. What costs you money? Okay, so now we start to enter the realm of things that cost you money. Most, I think a lot of people on the call, you know, Erica's reached out to you about taking out an advertisement in the Shire's Guide. The note I will add to this, the heavy note I will add to this is this guide only exists because of advertisers. And there have been years where we put it on the chopping block if Erica doesn't hit all her advertisers. So, you know, this only happens because 80 people buy an advertisement of various sizes, and it pays for the cost of this travel guide. If those advertisers were to go away, this travel guide goes away. And I would say this is probably the official guide of the region. Manchester produces a smaller one through Old Mill, I think, and there's I think they do like a quarterly, if not biannual travel guide. And I don't think there's really anything else out there. You can also download the rate sheet. Obviously, this rate sheet will change for the 2023 year. It'll be quite similar. Through that DMO organization, we also operate the Shire's distribution system. So that is the concept here is they're beautifully wooden racks. They hold about 30 racks. So if you gave me a bunch of apricot lane, I put them all in slot C. You can see on that map where each one of them are distributed. The theory being at one point, this region was dense with other distributors that were pointing people towards the Von Trapp Lodge, go ski J Peak,
Yep.
go anywhere but where you are is
Yep.
basically what those brochure racks used to do. So this one is dedicated to saying, hey, between Mass Mocha and Merck Forest, stay local, you're here, you want to know what's there. And I think there's a great opportunity. And you can go to, if you click learn more about it, it'll go to the dedicated page about if you wanted to advertise in this rack. Gives you the dimensions, what they look like, be on the lookout. Great quote from Hawkins, and you can fill this out. And for chamber members, you get a discount. You can do a full year for $900. You could do 90, but you see how that goes up for non-members. And you can actually pick the months. Bennington Museum, historically picks certain months. Theaters often pick certain months to advertise. State Welcome Center, as we mentioned, posters, displays, rack cards, art. Those are those 20 advertising. Those are really the only thing that costs money up at the State Welcome Center. Those are $400 a piece. But I was just dropping off a poster, talking to somebody about a poster the other day, and I said, I've never seen such return on investment in print, but we've had the chocolate shop do a poster. We've had Hawkins House, and they literally have people walking through the door saying, well, I was going to Burlington, but I came downtown because I saw the Hawkins beautiful jewelry and I wanted to get something for my wife, in Bennington. So they look at those racks and they come directly down. And I would say at this point, they're somewhat evenly split North Shire, South Shire. That is the Welcome Center of the region. I think the next Welcome Center is up in Rutland. So even if you're in Manchester or Dorset, you could have a rack, a poster there and say, hey, and PJ's great. PJ and her staff are just like retired people that are chatterboxes and they needed a job because they didn't want to be at home alone. So they're the most dynamic group of people and they're just so fun to be around, but they love promoting the area. They pride themselves on promoting the area. So shoot me an email if you want that. Here's a little example from the Manchester Country Club. You can also purchase specialized mailings and e-newsletters. So one, we have mailing labels. You won't ever get the list of the membership. You won't get an Excel file. We don't give that out. That's proprietary information and we protect your information. So we're not selling it. We're not doing that. What we will do is Erica will physically print out labels. And if people want to purchase those labels, not a big cost, but if they were doing a postcard thing, you could use the permit that we have, and you could use the labels, and then you could send out a mailing to all chamber members. Friday e-blast, like we said, we push that out. But if you ever want to do an ad in there, we're doing a sale, we're doing a ribbon cutting, it's $150 a week. Signature e-blast goes to a little bit more people, and that is what you see to the right here, which the Country Club did when they first kind of launched. We want to do a dedicated, there's nothing else in that e-blast, nothing about the chamber. It's just from the chamber and we're celebrating what you want to celebrate, and you can by and large put anything you want in there. We do limit those to 2 a month so we don't annoy people, but you can see that. And then we do, if we don't do monthly tourism e-blast, we do quarterly. And that goes, so that would be much more for our, attractions and maybe retail and restaurants and things like that. That goes to over 10,000 people we've collected that have shown interest in traveling to the area through our events, through our travel shows. and that's a little bit pricier, but you can see how that comes along. You can see various ads that people have taken out or specialty emails, and you can email Erica about that. Again, when you call me or Erica, we walk you through this, so it's not don't feel like you have to remember everything. And then sponsorship, multiple ways to sponsor, and you can download the 2022 sheets there. Events, initiatives, educational programming. If you want, you could sponsor a mix, or you can also partner. So if you don't have a space but you want to highlight your business, we can also connect you with a restaurant and connect you with space to do something and say, you know, Chris, you want to like launch your inspection business, but you know, you kind of don't have space. I'm not going to do it at my house. Well, let's go find somebody that also wants to highlight. And then what we do is give you opportunity to speak to the 50 members or 70 members that show up to the mixer. And you can be very, you know, at the very least, you can always shoot us a message. So that's advertising in a nutshell. Any questions on that? I know we're getting to about 9:30, so we're an hour and a half in. We're getting close to the end, and we can do some Q&A after that. Great. So advocacy. We do this, you know, we are representatives of you. You guys can't be up in Montpelier all the time. You can't be talking about housing, talking about needing a more qualified workforce, needing, you know, daycare and childcare for your workers so that they can come back to work. The hybrid work model and remote work, that's tough for all of you. So we try and synthesize it and represent you, as well as give you opportunities to speak out in kind of forums. So legislative roundtables, like I said before, we're going to try and do one in November, just as kind of a kickoff of the 2023 session. That's always a great one to go to, because most of our senators and representatives just kind of say what they're going to work on in the next year. And then we try and get them back to the table around February or March, halfway through the session, and go, how'd you do? And do we have any complaints for you? And so I would encourage you, if that's something of interest to you, you know, oftentimes I'll be honest, the triggering things end up being around minimum wage, family paid leave, carbon tax, Act 250. So that's been kind of the common conversations. Obviously, COVID eclipsed all that, and we've been talking a lot about COVID and resources, but those traditionally, and then workforce and housing. I think now we're going to see a lot more conversation around infrastructure. Okay, what are you going to do as my representatives to move money and resources down here to build more housing, you know, and that sort of thing. I do sit on the Governor's Travel and Recreation Council. We just did a great future of tourism at the Bennington Museum last Friday. And I was with, you know, I know those peers very, very well. Molly Mahar from Ski Vermont, Heather Pelham, who's the Commissioner of Tourism, Amy Spear from the Vermont Chamber Tourism. So, you know, we have a very good access to our travel and tourism department. Women in Leadership Luncheon, we mentioned this already, but I do believe that is advocating the amazing amount of leadership we have in women. And I don't just kind of say that as kind of a broad brushstroke. I mean, if you sit down and you actually start to think about the women in leadership, both in organizations, nonprofits, and our government in the region, you start to go, I mean, oh, wow. Oh, yeah. And that's what we ended up doing on our hands when we were thinking about, should we do the women leadership lunch? And I go, well, yeah, but then you've got, you know, you got the Bryants, you've got the, you know, you got the chair of the Bennington Select Board. You've got, you know, we got the you know, the executive director of the Southern Vermont Arts Center. We've got the Bennington College. I mean, the amount of women in leadership is quite amazing. So we wanted to highlight that. We have done housing forums. We can do other forums, workforce forums, childcare forums, whatever you guys want. We did the Future of Tourism panel. And then I also think the Shire's Young Professionals is a great advocacy group too. And they do a lot of programming around that, including bringing young representatives. I know the Speaker of the House down a couple months ago, but they bring our young representatives who represent them in to talk to them about, hey, you know, you're under 42. What do you want, and how can you represent us with that? Questions on that? Okay, last slide, close to the last slide. We just have the Q&A slide after this, but to summarize, Eric and I came up with this cute moniker and kind of alliteration around the easy peasies, easy peas, 5 of them. Build presence, participation, promotion, partner, and perform. So presence is just showing up. Erica will tell you time and time again, just show up. You guys being on today, show up. Participation, start to get involved, start to go to the mixers, start to join a committee, volunteer at one of our events, participate, respond back to Erica when she sends an email. You can delve into promotion at that point, and I think that is the advertising part. I want to host a mixer, I want to sponsor this event, and there's been some small businesses that have just taught that really launched, and I'll give 2 nods here just so that you can follow up with them after. Nancy Koch with Couch and Cork, the amount of promotion, giveaways, and sponsorship she does, and Jen Hoffman with Hoffman Real Estate, and those are small, like 2-person shops. They've been amazing in the last 3 years to just kind of do, we're gonna do small. I mean, I remember they started at like $100. All we got is $100, and they have grown now into mid-level sponsors, and it's great. Partner with us, host a mixer, come up with an idea, host a forum that's in your field. I'm thinking of Apricot Lane. Let's talk about how you set up a brick and mortar shop. Let's bring in a specialist to talk, whatever Manchester might feel like they need. So think about that, and then perform. And that to me is kind of the catalytic leadership. So once you get into this, kind of go around this circle, join a board, join our board, join the young professional board, join a committee, run a committee. Jen Hoffman's another good example of that. She said, we have a housing crisis. And I said, Jen, if you want to run it, I'll work it with you, and Eric will work it with you, but you run it. And so she helped us run our first housing forum. So if you see things like that, that's that performance level where we want to get you to, and we want you to be engaged and take ownership in your own community. Erica, anything else? It's a lot in an hour and a half.
I know it is a lot. So again, I just encourage you to go to the website, because all this information is available there. Easy to digest form. So if you have any questions for Matt and I while we're here, happy to answer any questions you have.
So calendar events, should they only be, like, for me, it's always a sale. I mean, we don't do that many events, and it doesn't seem like the right vehicle. That's why I've never really put stuff on there. So because that's you know what I mean?
I'm okay with that, actually. And I think Erica, you can remind me, but I think I've had conversations with Michaela. I think sales are great, and I think you can do them on that, because it's we make it 10 events a week. So even if you got on there twice a month, Susan, you're adding an 11th. It's not crazy. It's not. What I caution people about is saying I sell clothes and making that the event.
Yeah.
As opposed to saying, hey, we're doing a spring fling and we're taking 25% off. I think that's a great event. I would encourage all our people, because people are going there, and especially, in Manchester, that's what Manchester's known for: outlet shopping, boutique shopping. And like, if I were to go there as a traveler, I'd go, oh, look at this, it's sidewalk sales in Manchester. And Apricot Lane is giving, I think that's fine for now. If
it got overrun, then
if I get overrun, or if I come back in 6 months, just remind us that we had this conversation today. But my feeling towards it is no, at this point, diverse people hopping on there doing a sale. Again, like Veronica with you, it can't be like membership is available at golf. Okay, great. But if that calendar can encourage you to say, hey, we're going to do a swing away spring, and the sale is for 6 weeks, and it's 25% off, that's cool. I would also encourage you, where and if you can, turn it into an event. So, so Susan, you might, 25% off, that's great for the weekend. But you might also have like a meet and greet, like there might be an hour to come to something,
right,
or not, like you've done, get fitted or something like that.
Right, yeah.
With Lapesh with,
Body types, clean out your
Right.
closet.
yeah, we're gonna do a whole weekend of sales, but like, we're gonna do a bra fitting on at this hour. So that would be my encouragement. I don't think it's a requirement, but again,
Because I'm also thinking like the specialty blast, which I hadn't really thought about that before. Black Friday, we open at 6 a.m. and we do 6 to 8 a.m., 40% off.
that's great.
And then, 10 to 12 is 30 and 20% off from then until closing at 6 o'clock. So, I mean, we have people that like, they're already asking if we're doing that this year. So, and it's enormous. We do the same amount of business on Black Friday as we do basically the month of April. So what can I do that's gonna, help to maintain and expand that too? Okay.
Yep.
So that would be an appropriate thing to do a specialty e-blast for?
Yep.
Okay, because I wouldn't really want it on a Friday. I would need it someplace earlier in the week.
Yep.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay, cool. Thank you.
Chris had to hop off. His internet was cutting in and out.
Yeah, I have to hop off too, actually, and get to
Yeah.
the
that's
club.
amazing.
Sure.
But this was really great. Yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
thank you so much. It was
Thank you
really
guys for joining us.
lots of
Thank you.
food for thought.
Yes. Yep. And again, we'll send out the slides. If you say, hey, Eric, I just missed that part one, we've recorded it. You can always go back, but two,
Right.
we'll hop on a call with you guys again and say, okay, Matt, now cater, kind of what you're talking about, Susan, cater I got this thing. What would you recommend us doing? And Eric and I are happy to work with you guys.
So I'm going to throw out something for the two of you, since we're at the end, that you were talking about a hospitality expert. Carmine at Hildene would be fantastic, because he does not have any weddings for the next year because they're starting construction on the new building. But his level of, and he also is a really good speaker. So you might he might be somebody, I'm totally throwing him out there.
be sure to-
He's home with a
sure to
cold
mention
right
your name.
now.
Yeah.
Pardon me.
We'll be sure to mention your name.
Please do.
Yeah. All right, gang. Thank you so much for hopping on.
Thank
Staying
you.
on.
Take care, everybody.
Have a
All right.
great
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Bye-bye.